Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm playing with junk again. And as usual, it's not really junk, but it's interesting, and this time we have chips. You can see an assortment of chips here on my microscope, but that's not all. I also have manufacturing samples of chips. These are the pins in how they come out of the machine, and these are the chips here, and we will have a closer look on them. Stay tuned. Okay, the first I have here is something that looks like a transistor in a nice row, uncut. And it's not a transistor, it's a PWJ229, and that's an audio amplifier, and it has normally a case with 5 pins, but this layout here only has 3 pins, so I guess they will add 2 more pins in a later step in manufacturing. You can also see the chip is already in place here. The bonding wires are not. I think that's the last step before it gets its epoxy resin case. Yeah, that's how it looks. How transistors, or in this case, amplifier chips are made. By the way, this is a TO220 case at the end. If I'm right, I think so, yes. Then we have small transistors here. There is no chip here. Chip goes here. There is 1, 2, 3 legs here. That's how that looks. Maybe the chip even goes to this side, because this side is gold plated, just like the back side of the chips here. Maybe because gold and gold can be soldered easily. Certainly better than, for example, silicone. Then we have that part here that is clearly for a dual inline chip, like a 74 something. By the way, all these chips here are relatively old. Well, they are old. I have seen on one chip here, it probably has a date code from 1980, and that's quite possible because these things lie around in our company for, well, quite a while, and they came to the daylight now because we are cleaning up a little bit, and that is certainly something we won't throw away, because that's not easy to get these parts. So you need to know someone who works at such a company who makes chips, or you need to go for a factory tour and are allowed to take a little bit something, but most of the time I think that's not possible. So here is a very old looking version. It looks like this was silver plated, maybe. It's pretty dark, pretty blackened. And we also have one, and if we look closely we can even see the chip here is already in place. And I can tell you that's a 74, yes, a 74 LS04, and that's a hex inverter chip. We will see that a little bit closer just in a moment. And here is a whole bunch of chips. In fact, it's only 3 different types. The large ones here, maybe I can flip one over. That looks like an EEPROM chip. something like this one. Let me see, maybe it is exactly that chip. Well, I think not exactly. It's a little bit smaller, but yeah, it's quite similar, so must be some sort of storage chip, maybe an EEPROM like this. And this one here looks like new, like fresh from the factory, but it's the same age. They all have come from the same time. Interesting here, this seems to be steel or probably nickel, because it is magnetic here. You can see that. While even the copper plated are slightly magnetic. That's interesting. So that's not solid copper, or at least there is. Oh no, that was this one below. That's magnetic. Okay, sorry, my fault. No, this is just copper. It's not magnetic. Also here, no magnet. But these things, the silver pins here, it's either steel or nickel. I don't know what it is. Maybe someone of you know it and you may write it in the comments. I'm thankful for all additional information. Yeah. And also this one is magnetic, so it's also steel or nickel. But from the color, I would say it's silver plated. That's possible. Okay, let's see some microscope shots. That's the 74 LS04. You can see the LS and the 04 on the left side of the chip, about in the center there. And you can also see it's 6 times the same circuit. And yes, it's a 6-fold inverter. It's 6 inverters in one chip. And yeah, that's how it looks like. And that's the same 74 LS04 chip, a little bit farther away. You can see the pin arrangement. Here are the pins for the small signal transistor. As you can see, it's 3 pins, one large one that holds the chip and 2 smaller ones that will be connected by gold wires. And here is the TDA2030 audio amplifier. I will show you a data sheet right now. And here is a close-up of the chip, and you can clearly see TDA2030C. That's the name of the chip, or the number of the chip. And here are the 3 different chips I have in one image. On the right side there is the EEPROM chip, we have already seen that. On the left side is something that looks like a transistor or a diode. Maybe someone can tell me more about that. And in the center there is a chip. I have no exact identification. There are a couple of numbers on it. Interestingly, these chips are relatively thick, so you can see there is one standing on its side, and that's 0.58 millimeters thick, so it's a little bit more than half a millimeter. Here is a closer view of this unknown chip. If you look at the center there, it says February 80, version 2 probably, and it says X2010. I don't know what that means. And in the right upper corner there is 1008 and probably 3C23 or something like that. I'm sorry I don't have a better microscope, but for my use that's good enough normally. Okay, maybe someone knows what that is. And that's clearly the EEPROM chip here. You can see there are two memory arrays, left and right, and some logic at the bottom and on the top. And that's the third chip that I have here. It looks like it has only two contacts, but it is possible that the substrate, the backplane, if you want, is the third contact. So I think that the right contact with these two antenna-like spikes is probably a gate or maybe a base. I don't know if it's a bipolar transistor or if it's a transistor at all. Maybe it's a photodiode or something. I don't know, but if you know, let me know. Thank you.